everybody. How are we doing? We're going to talk about some classical music today, so I just want to bring it down a notch, right?
Bring it down a notch?
We just need to bring it down. Isn't that beautiful? So beautiful. This is Van Cliburn playing Clair de Lune.
Van Cliburn was amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about a Texas legend, Van Cliburn.
Really?
That's right. Hey, play some more of that.
Awesome.
Can you play some more of that? That's amazing. That just makes me so at peace. What
know.
about you, Kevin? Does that make you sound at peace?
Yes. This is a very mellow intro.
It is. Well, we got Andrew here.
Sorry. You gotta get a little closer.
Andrew could start off with the impersonation of me introducing an episode. That could kick it up a notch. See, I just don't have that in me right now.
Doesn't go, and I even gave you a free cup of coffee too.
It is really good.
He's done nothing for you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm well caffeinated. I'm good. I'm actually really excited. I'm excited about Van Cliburn.
I am too. He's awesome.
I didn't know him. You know, he's since passed.
Yeah.
But what an amazing man and an amazing American. And there's a lot to talk about with Van Cliburn.
So where's he from? I mean, I kind of knew he was from Texas because he's always been associated with Fort Worth for as long as I can remember.
That's right.
But I never really, knew a whole lot about him.
No.
Other than he was just a phenomenal piano player. So
just this big, and he's known as the Tall Texan.
Yeah.
And he's this pianist who is world renowned as one of the top pianists in history. Mm-hmm. And so he was born July 12, 1934 in Shreveport, Louisiana. So you're like, well, wait a minute, this is not how to be a Louisianan. How to be a Cajun.
Right. I struggle every week to keep you focused on Texas, man.
So this is not how to be a Cajun. This is how to be a Texan.
You would be able to understand what they would be saying.
How to be a Cajun?
Yeah. I'm not even going to try to do it.
Don't, because you need subtitles.
They'll come after me.
They will, because they're strong people, but you need subtitles for that Cajun speak. But regardless, Van Cliburn, born in 1934, he did pass in 2013. He was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. His mother was a classically trained pianist from Juilliard out of New York. His dad worked in the oil industry. And so he started taking piano lessons from his mom at the age of 3, which is amazing. And then when he was 6, his dad had a new job in Kilgore, Texas, and they moved. And then somehow they got around over to Fort Worth, and he basically spent the majority of his life around Fort Worth. And so at 3, I think his mother saw him basically mimic very complex piano pieces.
Yeah, what I read was he was mimicking what she was teaching the students.
Right.
I think he could just mimic it.
At whatever level.
Yeah.
And so that started at 3. And so then his mom's like, okay, this guy's got something. And she started training him. And then he ended up going to the Juilliard Institute in New York and was classically trained. He focused on Russian classical, specifically Tchaikovsky music.
So he was a commie?
No, not at all. Not at all. Matter of fact, he was the counter to that.
He was? Okay.
And so the one thing that I want to go to, let's do that in just a second, but there's a YouTube video that is an interview with him when he's an older man, but Kevin's got a bunch of tracks on it that are fantastic. The one thing about Van Cliburn, and of course I didn't know him, I never saw him perform, I never met him.
That's too bad. I wish I had.
Me too.
Me too. I kind of have a bucket list now of people that are, getting old that I want to see before they're gone.
Yeah, like Carol Burnett,
Right.
That's
like Elton John.
Right.
I mean, he's not a Texan, but, what a shame if...
I can't see him then.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, we can't talk about it on this program. I'm sorry. I'll delete that.
No, it's fine. but I never saw. So Van Cliburn's full name is Harvey Levon Van Cliburn Jr., but he went by Van. And no, I never saw him. But this interview it was a YouTube video, and it was this interview. It was amazing, and it just shows him as the one of the most humble men or people I've ever seen. I mean, because he could have had this amazingly huge ego because of his talent, all of his, the accomplishments that he'd had in his life, and he just didn't do that.
Well, this is kind of a cool clip. I'll just play it, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
New York City adds its own bravo to the worldwide crescendo of applause for Van Cliburn.
On his return to the U.S., the 23-year-old Cliburn was given a ticker tape parade down Broadway, the only classical musician ever so honored.
Yeah, so he's the only classical... anybody that gets their own ticker tape parade down Broadway,
right,
much less for being a classical musician, you would think they would have a gigantic ego.
That's right.
After that.
Well, but let me explain why he had a ticker tape parade. So he went over to it's called the International Tchaikovsky Competition in Moscow in 1958 and this was older, in his 23rd year. So he's 23 in 10 months or so. He's almost 24. But he won it. He won it as a 23-year-old U.S. person going into Cold War Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And they loved him because, again, they saw him as the Tall Texan. He was a very, very tall man, big, long fingers, and he just came out, this exuberant smile, and he had this. So I actually watched the video of the competition, so that's on YouTube as well. And so he's got this fantastic orchestra behind him that's playing this intensely complex piece. And he gets in there and he starts playing, and his fingers are going so fast, and it lasted like 23 minutes. It was forever. I'm like, I don't know how you memorize that many keys, but it was nothing. And he just goes up and down the keyboard with this amazingly complex piece, and he won. And so, yeah.
One of the interviews I saw or heard was he was talking about the judges that were there. When he went in there, he was like, oh, wow. These are the best
in the world.
Russian classical, musicians or pianists, whatever they were.
Right.
And he lifts it off a bunch of names in the interview. I can't remember. But he was like, man, I was more intimidated by that than
the crowd playing with in a new setting with a new symphony orchestra behind him.
So imagine all that pressure, man.
As an American going over in the Cold War.
He just nailed it.
He killed it.
But he also talked about how once he got to know those judges, how they were just the nicest people.
Right.
And that was a recurring theme through all these interviews, just how they were so nice in Russia. They were so nice to me.
Right.
And, and this is at a time, like you were talking about, Cold War, where, there was no positive, love between the U.S. and Russia at all.
And I'm not going to go on my senior thesis, but let me...
Oh, I thought you were.
Well, okay. Prepare for my senior thesis. Here we go. I'm kidding. So the background on the Cold War, and then I'll get into him, and again, his love for the music, and I think that's what was the common element with the judges and, frankly, the Russian people, because they loved the classical music because Tchaikovsky had written all of this. And so there are, decades and decades of Russian classical music development. The culture of the day was they loved it and appreciated it, and they certainly loved it when somebody relished it from outside of their culture. And I think that's why they liked him so much. Mm-hmm. So anyway, just quickly, and I won't even go back into all my notes, but just remember the end of World War II, so the mid to late 1940s, remember? And so what had happened, and this was in the Eastern Front, not the Japanese front, but on the Eastern Front with the Nazis. And so remember what happened was the Americans and the Brits came from the west to the east into Germany, and then the Russians came from the east to the west. So we have these colliding forces of the Russians versus mainly the Americans, but because the Brits were so just bashed by the end of the war. Mm-hmm. So it was mainly the Americans and the Russians coming together, crushing Hitler and all of Germany. And I will tell you, there's one book, if you guys ever want to read a really good book, and it was called Killing Patton. And it's that series, the killing Kennedy, killing Lincoln, et cetera. And it's by Bill O'Reilly and Martin Dugard, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's called Killing Patton. And General Patton at the time had this theory of, we need to keep going, America. We're in this position of strength, and we're just gearing up at the end of World War II. And our biggest threat is not Germany, but it's Russia. Mm-hmm. And so there's all this, these theories about why Patton was killed, because he had this dark theory that America needed to keep on going forcefully and invade and crush the communist Russia. Of course, that didn't happen.
There was a communist movement over here at that time. There was communist party, like political party that was communist, and they had candidates, and it was very, very, it's hard for us to imagine that now.
No.
But it was kind of coming up here, and part of what was fueling that was, oh, wait a second, right? We just saw what these guys did. They had the revolution.
Yeah.
We saw what they did in the war.
Right.
Now there's parties forming over here. They're going to try to overthrow the government, right? So it kind of became this huge witch hunt to find anybody that was in it,
The Red Scare.
Yeah.
The Red Scare.
Yeah.
It was the Red Scare.
Exactly right.
But
so that's the backdrop of what's going on when this 23-year-old kid from Texas says, "Okay, I'm gonna go over there and play some piano for you guys."
Right. So he he won this. So think about the Cold War. It lasted from 1946 all the way until really around 1989 to 1991, when the collapse of USSR occurred in 91. When, remember, Reagan, tear down this wall and the Eastern Bloc and all that. So we're fresh into the Cold War. I mean, we're 6-7 years into it, and all these tensions are high. And here comes the Tall Texan, who has been classically trained at Juilliard, comes in, blows away the competition, and wins playing a Tchaikovsky piece. And so then now let's get into kind of the humility of Van Cliburn. And so I think the one thing, I don't know if you have that, but we can certainly speak to it, is in the interview on this YouTube video, and we can put the notes in our note to the audio on this, but he speaks to "Don't love me. All I'm doing is I love the architecture and the structure of the music, and I'm trying to convey that to whoever's listening and sitting there and experiencing this with me."
He talked about how that was a big responsibility. The word responsibility is what he would use over and over again.
Right.
He's like, well, I have a responsibility, right? Any classical musician has a responsibility to represent this music in the right way, right? Because this was stuff that was written, there was no recording equipment, there was nothing, right? So all you have is music on paper, right?
Right.
That, was written, I don't know when his stuff that he was playing was actually written, but classical music written hundreds of years ago, and it continues to carry on, and there's kind of this responsibility. You're not just up there improvising, right? You got to keep it legitimate.
That's right.
And so that he felt a big responsibility for that, and he even said at one point, long after I'm dead and you're dead and everybody else is dead, this music is going to continue.
That's right.
Going on and on and on.
That's right.
So yeah, I was really blown away by that.
I was too. I was too.
He also talked about the architecture of how complex classical music is, and that it's the responsibility for him to make it sound simple.
Right.
But he's like, there's a lot going on there.
Well, there is a lot going on, and I do have a story about that.
Okay.
You want to hear my story?
Sure.
You're not gonna insert the Trump.
Well,
I'm going to tell you a couple of stories.
I'm just so used to it now.
Insert it wherever I want.
So anyway, one of
There will
my
be a giant sucking sound going south.
I think that's more appropriate. It's a giant sucking.
there's a sucking of energy, my life energy. That is so sad. Anyway, I had a friend all through high school. Well, I still have her as a friend, Susie. It was one of my best friends through high school. Anyway, I would go over there and visit with her, and her dad was an American Airlines pilot, and he loved classical music. And so I'd go over and I'd visit with Susie, and she'd be getting ready or whatever, and we'd go get a Coke or something. And so Mr. Taylor, he'd be like, "Kyle, come in here and sit down." And we'd just sit there, and he would say, "Just listen and enjoy this and absorb it." And so he was kind of my first introduction to classical music. And if you listen to it, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I can listen to it while I'm studying, or, if I'm trying to go to sleep, or I hear it on the elevator." But he listened to it actively because he believed he just loved it, and he felt all the richness and the tones of it, and the passion and the emotions that it evokes. And so I was listening to a lot of what Van Cliburn had played throughout the last few days just leading up to this. And it really does. I mean, the mood that he sets by and the complexity of the songs are so ridiculous. I just can't imagine. First of all, I can't play. I took when I was in like 4th and 5th grade, but I was horrible. Did you ever take piano?
No.
Yeah.
We have a piano in there that never gets played.
Can you go in there and plink away and play a few songs?
Yeah,
No.
I could do it. Let me take my microphone over there.
Okay. Can you play a little Tchaikovsky?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Here's Andrew.
Sure.
Oh.
Oh, Andrew. Andrew, that's amazing. I didn't know you knew Claire de Lune.
You know.
He can even talk while he's doing it. So relaxed.
Yeah, you know.
You know.
Yeah, you know. Well, that's one of my favorite pieces, that Claire de Lune.
But no, I agree with you. I used to listen to it a lot on 101.1. That's
yeah.
our classical music station here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And when the twins were little, I remember, you had twins, right? So feeding time was like,
Mass chaos.
yeah, mass chaos.
Total
So,
stress.
so I had this ginormous recliner with these giant arms on it.
Uh-huh.
And I would turn on the 101.1. This was like in the afternoon feeding time. And I would get each twin on one of those arms and have a bottle in each hand.
Oh, yeah.
Stuck in each mouth.
Right.
But that music would kind of just soothe everybody,
That's so
calm
good.
everything down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you listen to it now in your normal daily routine?
I go through phases. I mean, not right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I go through phases. So my phase right now, I listen to nothing but bluegrass music 24/7 for about the past 3 or 4 weeks, right? But I have gone through phases where I've listened to nothing but classical for months at a time.
I do love bluegrass. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
Andrew was playing me some before we started this. Man, it's good stuff.
That was in bluegrass.
Well, it's very
wait.
it's very bluegrassy because she's yodeling, and there's a lot of yodeling in bluegrass. So regardless, but going back to Van Cliburn, so I appreciate what Mr. Taylor taught me, because it was sit and absorb the richness of it, and then as I watch Van Cliburn play on all these videos of him as a 23-year-old and then thereafter, it was phenomenal. I mean, what a God-given gift.
I love his the way he talks about how he thinks about performing. Let me play this clip for you.
Okay.
You practice over and you try to perfect something. When you go to a hall, you must then and there gauge the distance that you feel to be aware between yourself and the last person in the balcony.
So, he's thinking, okay, I'm in a hall with, 1,000 people. I've got a piano. I mean, it's no microphones. I've got to deliver for the last person.
A moving
at the
experience.
top of the balcony. Yeah.
That's right.
Isn't that amazing?
And I've got to connect with that person.
Yeah, exactly. And then he talked about how he would practice to make sure that he could do that. And I think
You're aware of that last
Yes,
person, and you
very
want to
much.
reach them.
Yes,
Yeah.
but when you get to the stage, I always practice with the lid down. There is no reason why to put the lid up. Because when you get to the hall, that is the moment of truth.
That's when it has to come
That's
out.
when it has to come out.
So he practiced with that lid down. I think, so he would really have to, deliver it. And then, then you open the lid and it just sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
And I again, I couldn't believe this, but as I was watching him do that performance at this 50 contest, 23-year-old, he didn't have sheet music in front of him. It was all.
Oh, it's all by memory.
He knew it all. 23 minutes.
I think it's got to be to do it at that level. I don't see how you could read that.
No.
I mean,
No.
unbelievable. It may have been a requirement. Sometimes they require that,
Really? Mm-hmm. So now you look at his legacy, and his legacy is this worldwide competition that goes on every 4 years. They call it the Van Cliburn International Piano Competition.
And where does that happen? I didn't look
It's in
that
Fort
up.
Worth at the Bass
That's what I
Performance Hall.
thought, yeah.
Yeah. So they built that Bass Performance Hall, 10 or 15 years ago, which is amazing. Downtown
Yep.
in Sundance Square.
Yeah, that's world class, man.
It is world class. The acoustics in there are amazing. Now, it's not that big, but it doesn't have to be. And so they pick, I can't remember, it was like 9 judges from around the world of the top pianists, instructors, conductors, etc., around the world. And they come in and they judge this, and there's an open forum for I can apply, and then you get screened in like late December of this year. They have one. No, let's see, it's 2021, I think, is the next one. So the judging occurs like in November, December of 20, and then the actual competition is in 21 because it's every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so there have only been 15 winners of this thing already. I mean, and these are world class. And so there's one that's the conductor of the Los Angeles Symphony right now.
Mm-hmm.
He won it. And then there was a young lady, and she won. And now she's a conductor in Germany or something. So
He talked in one of the clips I heard or saw of him. He talked about how when he would watch this competition, how the young, musicians would inspire him to go home and practice. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh,
that's so great.
Serious.
That's somebody that just loves it.
But he was a perfectionist too.
Oh yeah, play that one about.
Oh well, this is a good one here.
Yeah.
Are you a tough critic on yourself?
Very.
Really?
Too hard. Very, very hypercritical, yes. You want for it to be not perfect, more than perfect.
You and I thought
I was going to say, not perfect, but you got to try to achieve perfection.
try
No,
to do good.
more than perfect.
Yeah. When I try to do something well, I'm like, I've never tried to do anything more than perfect.
Yeah. And the humility, there's one more clip we haven't played yet, but I think it kind of points to his humility and also his connection with the Russian people. But this is a good one. I liked it.
Okay.
I got off of the plane, and there was this very lovely, gracious, nice lady, Genrietta Belayeva, and I still know her to this day. And she said, "Mr. Van Cliburn?" And I thought, yes, welcome to Moscow. So all the time I was there, I never told them that in this country we pronounce it Van Cliburn. So I have two names, Van Cliburn and Van Cliburn. I got
Cool.
it.
Yeah, that's just humble.
What a class act.
Yeah, because he could have come across snotty
Yeah.
and said, "No, it's Van Cliburn."
Right.
So,
Right.
But,
What a class act.
very classy.
Yeah.
So I loved learning about it. Now, makes me want to. So I'll probably go on my kick where I'm listening to classical for the next several weeks, and specifically Van Cliburn. You can listen to him. Like I pulled him on whatchamacallit, iTunes, and there are a billion songs. I mean, it's like every song he ever played. It's on iTunes.
On there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I think it's ranked just below the How to Be a Texan podcast as far as number of
I think so.
listens on iTunes.
I think so. No.
He's giving us a run for our money, though.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because Claire de Lune's, I found that. I'm like, okay, that is on my frequent play.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. What an incredible guy, and proud to have him as a Texan.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, even though he's not with
even
us
though he came
anymore.
from Louisiana, but he
No,
performed.
I thought you were going to say because he's dead.
Oh no, God! Edit that out.
No, it's
Okay.
God rest his soul.
You can't do that.
I just did. I just did. All right. Well, hey, thank y'all for listening to us. Do we have any ranch updates or anything? I don't have.
Not really.
Yeah.
We finally got our front kind of rebooted.
Oh, that looks amazing.
Yeah, looking better out there.
Yeah,
we
it
had
looks
ripped
amazing.
out everything in the front yard.
We got a blue norther coming in tonight. You know that?
That's what Kinder said. Yeah,
It's going to be butt cold.
yeah. Get the fireplace going.
Yeah. I just keep on working on Scout, my dang horse with that massive cut on her butt.
So what's the deal with that, man?
It's just
It
and then
keeps reopening.
well, if I take her jacket off, it's like a big Band-Aid that I leave on there so it can be 80 degrees and she's got a jacket and all my neighbors are like, "Dude, you're torturing your horse." And I'm like, "Well, it's like a big Band-Aid because she's got this like 4x4 open wound."
But it's not healing up at
It
all.
is. It's just slow.
Okay,
It's just
good.
slow. It's all good. Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
All right.
Okay. Well, hey, thank y'all for listening to our episode on Van Cliburn.
This is the classiest episode we've ever done.
I know we haven't
feel
dog
like-
cussed or anything.
No.
Maybe it's because of these tuxedos we're wearing.
I know.
Yeah, this kind of. And
I do feel
Andrew
very
played
formal.
the piano for us and everything.
Could you play some more?
I had to kick the tail out. Yeah, let me walk over there real fast.
Okay, yeah, play some more while we go
the
while we
microphone.
exit out because that's so pleasant. Thank you, Andrew. Just
right.
have a seat right there. Flip your tux tails out.
Oh, yeah. Got it. My warm up right here. Just crack your knuckles.
You sound like you hawked a loogie.
No, it was my knuckles. I can't actually crack my knuckles. So.
When he was little, I would just whip him and make him learn those scales and everything on the piano.
Hey, it's really come out nice.
This is the result.
Oh my gosh, Andrew, it's amazing. Hey, thank y'all.
What can I say? I guess I'm just a natural.
That's so cheesy.
You missed a note, boy. Go to your room.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank y'all for listening today, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Adios. Bye.